The female lead chose the male lead who appeared later, even going so far as to break ties with her childhood sweetheart. Only he remained trapped in the love that grew wildly in his youth, longing but never attaining. The novel developed consciousness and sent me to save him. So, from age 17 to 27, I stayed by his side for a full 10 years. On his 28th birthday, I waited for him full of joy. But, the female lead was reborn. When there was no word from him all night, I finally understood. Everyone hopes the devoted second male lead in the novel can find someone else. But no one considered that he might not want anyone except the female lead. So, it's time for me to leave. The first time I saw Caleb was on the school rooftop. He leaned against the railing, head bowed, his expression unclear. The setting sun cast oblique rays, like shattered gold dust upon him, stretching out a long, lonely shadow. Beside him was a small cake, its cream melting, the cherry sinking into it. It was his 17th birthday. Every previous birthday, he and his childhood sweetheart, Emma, had spent it together. After school, they would sneak up to the school rooftop, hold the cake, and watch the sun set. Last birthday, Emma said to him with a smile asterisk. "When you turn 17, I want a cherry cake." Caleb had kept his promise, but she had broken hers. Because the male lead who appeared later, Felix, had arrived, and the plot had officially begun. This world was a youth novel. The male lead, Felix, transferred schools and became a bickering couple with the female lead, Emma. Their bond grew deeper, and Emma fell for the rebellious, flamboyant Felix who appeared later. Eventually, she drifted apart from her childhood sweetheart, Caleb. This novel was very popular, but readers unanimously believed Felix wasn't a good match. He was a rich second-generation heir and a playboy. Even after getting together with Emma, he was still entangled with other girls. They broke up and got back together many times because of it. Emma even spitefully got together with Caleb to make him jealous. The male lead went through hell to win her back, and they finally got their happy ending. Only Caleb remained trapped in the love that grew wildly in his youth, longing but never attaining. Readers felt deeply for him and demanded the author give him a perfect ending. I was one of them. Suddenly one day, a voting interface inexplicably popped up on my phone. The question was, would you like to save Caleb? I without hesitation chose yes. After a dizzying spin, I arrived in this world. A voice told me it was the will of the world, and it had chosen me among the many voters. Because I was an orphan, and my feelings for Caleb were very pure. If the redemption mission succeeded, I could choose whether to stay in this world and receive a considerable fortune. Money wasn't the main thing, it was mainly that I felt for Caleb. Besides, I'm a childhood sweetheart's shipper. In my eyes, the gentle and devoted Caleb was infinitely better than that playboy male lead. Perhaps making Emma change her mind would be the greatest salvation for Caleb. So I decided to matchmake them. I suppressed my excitement at breaking through the dimensional wall. Slowly walked forward and reached out my hand to him asterisk. "Hello, classmate. I'm the new transfer student." He raised his head. The lingering glow of sunset, carrying a gentle breeze, brushed through the black hair on his forehead, asterisk. Light and shadow reflected in my eyes, outlining the contours of this handsome young man. Our eyes met, and the memory froze at that moment. The next day, the homeroom teacher introduced me at the podium. "This is our new transfer student, Sophia." Thunderous applause erupted in the classroom, everyone was very enthusiastic. Except for the main character group. I spotted the distinctive male lead at a glance. He glanced at me vaguely, then turned his head and said something to the female lead, Emma. The corner of his mouth lifted lazily, rebellious and roguish. Emma rolled her eyes at him, but her fair little face flushed slightly, charming and adorable. Diagonally across, Caleb was staring blankly at their playful interaction, his eyes dim. He slowly lowered his eyelids, long lashes casting shadows, hiding that trace of bitterness. "Only the seat next to Caleb is empty. You can sit there." The homeroom teacher spoke with a smile. I keenly noticed Emma suddenly pause. She looked up at me for a few seconds, her gaze carrying an unreadable assessment. My intuition told me she wasn't happy. But I was happy. This meant she felt threatened. So, the childhood sweethearts I shipped still had a chance. I walked straight towards Caleb. He instinctively looked towards Emma and saw she was still talking and laughing with Felix. As if she didn't care at all who he sat with. I saw him holding the edge of the desk, his palm clenched white, yet he still politely let me in. "We meet again, Caleb." I smiled innocently, my eyes filled with light. To others, this looked completely like adoration. In my peripheral vision, Emma's gaze indeed swept over. Caleb nodded slightly, paused, then asked asterisk. "Didn't you say you were a fairy?" The temperature on my face suddenly rose, and I almost couldn't maintain my smile. "Ahem, just a joke, don't mind it." Yesterday, using my status as a stranger, I had easily gotten him to talk. Pointing at the almost melted cake, I asked him with a smile asterisk. "Is this for your girlfriend?" He shook his head, and as if remembering something, his cold features softened slightly. "For someone I like." I was a bit surprised. "So direct, asterisk asterisk. Want to tell me about it? Maybe I can help?" Caleb curled his lips in self-mockery. Perhaps because his love had nowhere to go, or perhaps because he had suppressed it for too long. He actually truly laid bare the deepest secret in his heart. I asked him why he didn't confess. He said Emma always saw him as a good friend, he was afraid confessing would push her further away. So infuriating, if only you had a mouth. I gave him a frustrated that iron couldn't become steel look. "Don't worry, I'll help you." Caleb looked at me. "Who are you?" I proudly puffed out my chest. "You can call me Fairy." "Caleb." Caleb asked me how I would help him. I said mysteriously, "This mountain dweller has her own clever plan. Step 1, make Emma feel threatened." This was simple. While getting water in the hallway, I moved next to Emma. I pretended to be naive and asked her about some of Caleb's preferences. I perfectly played the part of an admirer. Her smile became somewhat forced. Sure enough, after getting water, she went to find Caleb. Through the glass window, I saw Caleb's eyes brighter than ever before. Step 1 seemed successful. Step 2, cater to her preferences. After school, I dragged Caleb to a trendy clothing store. He held a pair of ripped jeans and a leather jacket, his expression somewhat indescribable. "This doesn't really suit me, does it?" "It does, of course it does. Emma might like this style." After all, that's how Felix dressed. When Caleb came out, my eyes lit up. I was even more convinced Emma liked this type of handsome guy. Otherwise, why would she fall for Felix? Caleb totally surpassed him. With those long legs that seemed nowhere to put themselves, the leather jacket accentuated his broad shoulders and narrow waist, adding a touch of cold handsomeness. Under the sales assistant's incessant praise, his ears turned slightly red, as if he felt very uncomfortable. I showed an anti-smile. "So cute, asterisk asterisk." After we left, he touched the tip of his nose asterisk. "Should I walk you home first?" "It's my mom's birthday tonight, I need to get back early." The words of refusal instantly stuck in my throat. I suddenly remembered that on Caleb's mother's birthday, Felix took Emma to a bar. Their first kiss happened today. No wonder Emma didn't walk home with Caleb today. After confirming Caleb knew the bar's location, I grabbed him and started running like crazy. He asked me why we were going there. I screamed internally, "Of course for your happiness." After all, after today, the relationship between the male and female leads would advance by leaps and bounds. By then, Caleb would really have no chance left. At the bar entrance, I gasped for breath. "Now can you tell me why you came here?" I could barely breathe, just pointed at the bar. He looked over, his eyelashes trembling violently, standing there stunned. Looking up, my pupils shook too. In the alley next to the bar, Felix was pinning Emma against the wall. They were very close, getting closer, their lips almost touching. I quickly shouted, "Wait." They both froze and looked over. When Emma saw Caleb, her face visibly paled. She avoided his gaze, subconsciously hiding behind Felix. Felix sneered, pulled Emma over, and looked down at Caleb. "What, you think copying me will make Emma like you?" Refers to an ugly woman imitating a beauty's frown, meaning a clumsy imitation that backfires. I couldn't help but retort, "Copying you? Anyone with eyes can see Caleb is much handsomer than you." Felix looked at me displeased. "And who the hell are you?" Emma tugged at him, "Caleb and I are just friends, you're overthinking it." Felix slung his arm around her shoulder casually. "A man's thoughts? I know them well. But a coward who doesn't even dare to say he likes her. I don't even care." Caleb paid no attention to his provocation. He firmly grabbed Emma's wrist. "Emma, let's go home." But Felix held her tight. "Without my agreement, do you think she'll go with you?" I frowned. This male lead was too disrespectful. Caleb suddenly punched him to the ground. Furious, veins bulged on his temples. "Does she need your agreement? What do you take her for? What were you trying to do to her?" I quickly pulled him away. Emma flusteredly helped Felix up. He rubbed the wound on his lip, smiling instead of getting angry. "Don't believe me? Ask her." Caleb looked at her, like a wounded beast looking at its last glimmer of light. "Emma, come back with me, please. He's not a good person." Emma avoided his gaze and took a step back. "Caleb, we're just friends. My affairs are none of your business." I couldn't even bear to look at Caleb's expression. He stood rigidly in place, his eyes suddenly terrifyingly red, his voice trembling. "Friends? I don't believe you don't know. Caleb, enough. We will only ever be friends. Just go home." As she spoke, as if to add insult to injury, she pulled Felix away in the opposite direction. Felix looked back, provocatively curling the corner of his mouth. And I, immediately and decisively, gave him the middle finger. Good, he wasn't smiling anymore. Caleb stood still, his hands clenched white at his sides. His disheveled hair hid his eyes, a clear tear falling. I panicked. Emma probably said that in anger, don't take it to heart." The more I spoke, the less confident I felt. I seemed to have messed everything up. Sigh, redemption? I'd be lucky if he didn't hate me. "Sorry." Caleb turned his head away, wiped his face roughly, and actually managed a slight smile at me. "You didn't do anything wrong. It's my problem. Let me walk you home, or your parents will worry." I shook my head, "I can go back myself. I don't have parents, don't worry." He paused slightly and said softly, "Sorry." I realized I had said something wrong and quickly waved my hands. "I didn't mean it like that, I mean I'm an orphan, no." The more I said, the worse it got, but who made my current identity an orphan too? Caleb suddenly laughed, the corners of his eyes still red. I subconsciously swallowed. So unfair. "If you don't mind, come to my house for dinner today. My mom likes it lively." I was stunned. Okay, sure. It was the first time a friend had invited me to their home for dinner. So novel. His family was very warm. You could tell Caleb had grown up in a good family. That's probably why he was so polite and excellent. During dinner, Caleb's mother looked at him and asked, "Why didn't Emma come?" He paused, just about to say something, when the door opened. "Auntie, I'm here." "Oh, Emma, come quick, we were waiting for you." Emma had a sweet smile, which solidified the moment she saw me. Her tone intensified, carrying a hint of challenge. "What are you doing here?" The way she looked at me seemed somewhat hostile. Maybe others couldn't tell, but I was an orphan. Sensitive to others' emotions since childhood. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. If she had feelings for Caleb, it was normal for her not to like me. But she had clearly rejected him, so why was she acting like this? Perhaps she saw Caleb as her possession. She could discard him, but no one else could pick him up. I felt inexplicably irritable. For the first time, I felt this female lead wasn't as innocent as the book described. Caleb said calmly, "Sophia is a friend I brought. Just having a meal together." Emma looked at him in disbelief, her eyes slowly reddening. Caleb picked up his glass, but his fingertips were trembling slightly, forcing himself not to look at her. Love was about restraint. He chose to retreat to the position of a friend. I sighed inwardly. Their matters seemed beyond my intervention. After dinner, Caleb walked me home. Emma caught up. Her emotions were a bit unstable, tears welling in her eyes as she shouted at Caleb. "Do you like her now?" Caleb's fingers twitched slightly, then dropped, pretending to be indifferent. "You said it yourself, we're just friends. You can like Felix, why can't I like someone else? Immortals fighting, don't drag me into it." Emma looked at him, large teardrops falling one by one. "I don't care. You can't be with her, or we're through." Caleb stared tightly at her, despair mixed with a trace of hope and pleading. "I cannot be with anyone." "Then, can you not be with him?" Emma lowered her eyes and said nothing. The damp air choked me. Caleb closed his eyes hard and smiled self-deprecatingly. "I understand." He grabbed my wrist, turned, and left without looking back. I stared dumbly at his profile. The temperature on my wrist felt scalding. A voice in my heart told me Caleb deserved better. So, I didn't want to match-make them anymore. After that night, Caleb and Emma fell into a cold war. Rumors gradually spread in class. They said I liked Caleb, so I forced Emma to stay away from him. Classmates started to distance themselves from me, looking at me strangely. I didn't care. As an orphan, being bullied and receiving dirty looks was commonplace. These things didn't bother me. But my relationship with Caleb got better and better. He brought me breakfast, had lunch with me, walked me home after school. And Emma's gaze towards me grew gloomier by the day. In her eyes, this was evidence that Caleb liked me. But he was just pitying me. An orphan, also isolated. I knew very well it was pity. After school, arriving home, just about to open the door. Thugs suddenly rushed out from the alley next door, led by Felix. They surrounded me. Felix smiled roguishly, bending down to look me in the eye. "You seduced that annoying dog Caleb. Logically, I should thank you. But my Emma really dislikes you, so I can only teach you a lesson." I glared at him angrily, secretly cursing that so-called will of the world for not giving me a golden finger, cheatability. "Yo, still a little spitfire." Felix sneered, waved his hand, and the thugs walked forward with lewd smiles. I glanced sideways at the doormat, a kitchen knife was hidden underneath. It was a habit from childhood, never thought it would come in handy. Just as I bent down to grab it, one of the thugs suddenly screamed. I looked up, my pupils constricting. It was Caleb. He held a brick, fighting with them. Outnumbered, he was soon at a disadvantage. Felix kicked him hard. He turned pale with pain, cold sweat pouring down. "You dare show up? I've been wanting to beat you up for a long time. Today I'll finish you off." I pulled out the kitchen knife, rushed over, and stood protectively in front of him. "Come on then, see who dies first." "I'm just an orphan, I'm not afraid." They immediately backed off, not daring to come closer. Felix's face darkened. "You just wait." Then the whole group ran away fast. I helped Caleb into my home to tend his wounds. While treating the wound on his forehead, he hissed in pain. Our eyes met. My heart skipped a beat, the cotton ball in my hand falling to the ground. I flusteredly looked away. Why did you come?" He took out a little bear keychain from his pocket. "It was on your backpack. Must have fallen off on the road. I came to give it to you, and then I saw them. Living alone is too dangerous. Be careful." I smiled. "Didn't you see me grab the kitchen knife? Who could bully me?" Caleb suddenly chuckled softly. The sound wasn't loud, but it landed heavily on my eardrums. True. You're amazing. My heartbeat quickened. I didn't even dare look at him. A strange emotion began to grow wildly in my heart. Yet I wished this moment could last forever. Felix was taking Emma abroad. Emma was determined to go, even going on a hunger strike when her parents disagreed. They had no choice but to compromise. It was the first time I saw Caleb look so devastated. On the rooftop, he leaned weakly against the railing. His always upright spine slightly bent. What should I do to make her stay? His voice was extremely hoarse, heavily pounding on my heart. I also experienced the taste of heartache. It really felt hard to breathe. I slowly walked over and asked him, "Do you like her that much?" Caleb slowly raised his head, his eyes full of pain, but without a trace of hesitation. He said, "Yes." I went to find Emma and told her Caleb and I had nothing. Everything we did was an act, just hoping she would change her mind. Caleb cares about you very much. I hope you'll consider carefully. Her look towards me became pitying and mocking. You've actually fallen for Caleb, haven't you? My throat choked up, I couldn't speak. If you like him, just go chase him. I'm not stopping you. Why come here to morally blackmail me? But whether Caleb will like you or not is another matter. Knowing him, you're wasting your effort. Looking at her victorious attitude, I suddenly felt very angry. Why was she unwilling to be with Caleb? Yet felt assured enough to trample on his sincere feelings? It was as if Caleb was just a tool for her to show off to others. I looked at her, then just wait and see. Ignoring her stunned expression, I turned and left. At that moment, I realized that strange emotion was called like. I liked Caleb. So, this time, I wanted to be selfish. I wanted to save him myself. So, for a full 10 years, I stayed by his side. The person who celebrated his birthday with him every year became me. I entered his life step by step. Caleb's parents loved me like their own daughter. Colleagues called us the best partners. Friends subtly asked when we planned to get together. I could feel that Caleb was treating me better and better. And this time, it was no longer pity. My reflection in his eyes grew clearer day by day. We watched movies together, saw sunrises together, rode the Ferris wheel together. Countless togethers formed something above friendship, but not quite lovers. Everything happened naturally. To break this layer of window paper, only a breakthrough was needed. At a bar gathering organized by friends, I decided to formally confess to him. I had drunk a bit much, unsteady on my feet. Caleb held my bag in one hand and supported me with the other. His tone was helpless and gentle, with a hint of doting affection. Told you to drink less, yet you had to show off. Liquid courage. I pushed him against the wall. The distance was extremely close, our breaths mingling. His body stiffened, his Adam's apple bobbed, his voice somewhat hoarse. Sophia, what's wrong? I took a deep breath. Caleb, I. A phone ringtone abruptly rang out, shattering the ambiguous atmosphere. He glanced at the caller ID, his eyes trembling violently, fingertips shaking. I tactfully stepped back. He quickly walked aside to answer the call. The plot point had finally arrived, Emma was returning home. Felix fooled around, she couldn't take it and returned. Purposely getting with Caleb just to make Felix jealous. In the end, Caleb was just a tool to be used and discarded. I curled my fingers. This time, I wouldn't let that happen again. After finishing the call, Caleb looked somewhat nervous. Sorry, can I have Xiaohu take you home? I asked, is Emma back? He paused for a second, then nodded, guilt appearing in his eyes. She's alone at the airport. I'll just take her home. I looked at him and said softly, then be careful. Caleb secretly breathed a sigh of relief and quickly walked towards the parking lot. Just then, I received a text message. He will only be mine. My heart suddenly felt like it was being squeezed, generating immense panic. The voice of the will of the world suddenly sounded in my mind. The female lead has been reborn. The novel ended with Emma and Felix's wedding. But after the end, real life began. Felix did seem to change after marriage, curtailing his playboy ways, becoming a good husband. After Emma became pregnant, she grew sensitive. She followed Felix and discovered he was indeed being intimately ambiguous with his secretary. During an argument, Felix pushed her by mistake. Emma hemorrhaged badly, facing premature birth. During childbirth, Emma finally understood, a playboy doesn't reform, he just pretends better. She began to miss Caleb's goodness. She regretted it. And so, she was reborn at this point in the plot. I sat listlessly on the sofa all night, a deep sense of powerlessness enveloping me. As the plot changed, the female lead finally realized the goodness of the devoted second male lead. Everything pointed towards a perfect ending. It was as if God couldn't bear to let Caleb's love wither alone, and so bestowed luck. But luck had never favored me. Caleb and I completed a major project. As usual, we agreed to go out and relax for a day. But this time Emma was there too. She was still quirky and lively, as if time had left no mark on her. "Sophia, long time no see. You're even prettier." Emma smiled without a trace of shadow, as if we had never had any conflict. I smiled and nodded, "Thank you." Caleb came over with the movie tickets. "It's quite crowded. Only pairs of seats left together." Emma didn't hesitate at all, took those 2 tickets, and smiled brightly at him. "We'll sit together. Give this seat, it's more central, to Sophia. Better view." She shoved it into my hands without discussion, pulling Caleb towards the ticket check. Caleb glanced at me, but ultimately didn't push her away. The girl checking tickets saw us and her eyes lit up. "Haven't seen you and your boyfriend for a long time." I was about to answer, but Emma cut in first. "They're just good friends, don't misunderstand." The girl smiled awkwardly, her face slightly red. In my peripheral vision, Caleb's gaze fell on me for a moment. Emma pulled him forward, full of energy in every movement. For a moment, I saw the shadow of their student days on them. If readers saw this, they would be very happy. Taking the ticket stub, the girl's eyes held a trace of sympathy. I didn't know what movie was playing. Diagonally across, the two were sitting very close. Caleb held the popcorn, tilting it slightly, making it easier for Emma to reach. Emma occasionally turned her head to talk to him. He curved his lips slightly, watching her attentively. A few girls behind us showed anti-smiles. Suddenly, I remembered the scene on the podium on my first day of transfer. Caleb had looked exactly like that, watching the male and female leads playfully argue. I finally understood how Caleb felt back then. My heart felt like it was being cut repeatedly by a blunt knife. Tasting the unbearable pain over and over. After the movie, Emma was still eager for more. She pestered Caleb to take her somewhere else. Caleb said, "Let's go to the amusement park." Emma pouted, "We're too old for amusement parks." He smiled, "The amusement park has a Ferris wheel." I almost instantly raised my head sharply. Our eyes met. His gaze held a familiar gentleness. Was it because I liked Ferris wheels? My heart, shamelessly, leaped with joy again. A secret crush is humble. The details he didn't care about were earth-shattering to me. But Emma became happy. "So you still remember I like Ferris wheels? Do you remember when we were kids, we often went, ****. Her voice gradually blurred. I lowered my eyelids, hiding the loneliness and embarrassment in my eyes. The Ferris wheel slowly rose. I sat on one side, they sat on the other. Though less than half a meter apart, it felt like an insurmountable chasm lay between us. I turned my head, staring blankly at the scenery outside the window. Emma was still chattering away. "Caleb, you know, legend says if you kiss at the highest point of the Ferris wheel, the lovers will never separate." So she knew this rumor too. Funny enough, that's why I liked Ferris wheels. There was a large amusement park near the orphanage. I often pressed against the window, watching the Ferris wheel turn slowly, for entire afternoons. Back then, I hoped with anticipation asterisk. In the future, I would ride the Ferris wheel with someone I liked, kiss at the highest point, and then never separate. I craved love too much, but what accompanied me was always loneliness. Pulling back my thoughts, the Ferris wheel had already descended. I didn't know what happened, but Emma's expression looked somewhat poor. Our eyes met. Her eyes were full of wariness, and a trace of jealousy, asterisk asterisk. Jealous of what? For these 10 years, I had been lingering in place, hadn't I? 10 years ago, Caleb and I were friends. We were still friends now. I couldn't help but think if I had transmigrated into a conquest novel, the ending would probably be death. Subconsciously, I looked at Caleb. He turned his head away instantly, with a trace of discomfiture and panic asterisk asterisk. He held a fist to his lips, then put it down dryly, at a loss. I paused. Something must have just happened asterisk asterisk. Emma, wearing high heels, suddenly twisted her ankle. Tears welled up from the pain as she looked pitifully at Caleb. He sighed and squatted down as if resigned. Get on. Emma smiled and pounced onto his back, her tone spoiled and willful. You used to carry me like this before. Are you unhappy about it now? She intimately wrapped her arms around Caleb's neck, her face almost touching his ear. Caleb stiffened slightly but didn't speak. They walked forward. Emma suddenly turned her head asterisk asterisk. She showed a meaningful smile. As if mocking my failure. Caleb finally seemed to realize something. He turned his head asterisk asterisk. Sophia? I stared fixedly at him. Overwhelming exhaustion surged over me asterisk asterisk. His pupils trembled, a flash of panic, fear, evasion, regret. His hands subconsciously loosened their grip. In that instant, did he really only see me as a friend? Emma immediately tightened her hold around his neck, staring at me with hostility. I curled my lips. You take her back. Xiao Hu is nearby, he can pick me up. Caleb's lips moved. Sophia. Emma interrupted him, don't go against a woman's will. Sophia might have other things to do. Let's go. Caleb looked deeply at me and finally said asterisk. Be careful. After getting home, I saw the message Caleb sent asterisk. Let me know when you get home safely. I buried myself in the sofa, completely swallowed by exhaustion. For the first time, I didn't want to reply to him. Reason told me this dream should end. My mission was to save Caleb. At first, I thought day after day of companionship would eventually help him emerge from the gloom. But as time passed, I deliberately forgot this mission. Evaded and suppressed the growing panic. The mission had a time limit, but I couldn't understand Caleb's feelings for me. If there were signs he was starting to like me, why wait 10 years? If he would never like me, how many more decades should I wait? A bottomless black hole tore at me inside. After Emma was reborn, she came for him. I could no longer deceive myself. Once, I felt frustrated that iron couldn't become steel towards Caleb, believing love should be spoken aloud. But now, I had become him. When loving someone, we become cowards. But, just this once, be brave one more time. 13. At the company, Caleb brought an exquisite lunchbox. A colleague winked at me. You've already reached the stage of preparing love bentos? I curled my lips, I didn't make it. She pouted, clearly not believing me. During lunch, I mustered my courage, my heart pounding. Suppressing my trembling voice, I asked him asterisk. Do you still like Emma? He was stunned, his gaze drifting for a moment. Meeting my serious eyes, he opened his mouth, somewhat dejectedly lowering his head. To be honest, I don't know. My surge of courage was doused. I stood frozen asterisk asterisk. Immense powerlessness deeply engulfed me. I pressed down hard on my trembling fingertips, forcing a smile at him. I see. Only suffocating silence remained. After work, Caleb told me he couldn't walk me home today. Because Emma wasn't feeling well, he needed to take her to the hospital. At the company entrance, Emma pounced on him as soon as she saw him, intimately linking arms with him. He glanced at me, subtly pulling away. Emma's expression changed, but she still forced a smile to greet me. Sorry, Sophia, Caleb can't walk you today. I shook my head. Your health is more important. Her punch landed on cotton, her expression became awkward. Colleagues coming and going whispered. Their looks held both sympathy and pity. I smiled self-deprecatingly. It seemed my whole life had been spent being pitied. 14. After dinner, I went downstairs to take out the trash and saw an old acquaintance. Little Spitfire, long time no see. I warily took a step back. Felix, what are you doing here? What do you want? He raised his hands as if surrendering. What are you afraid of? I won't do anything to you, ***. Emma isn't answering my calls. I want you to help me contact her. I pursed my lips. Why should I help you? Felix sneered, walking towards me casually. What, don't you like Caleb? Seeing those two together, doesn't it disgust you, ***. Help me out. Once I sweet-talk Emma, won't you get to take over? I glared at him angrily. He immediately changed his tune. Okay, not take over, true love, alright? Just then, Caleb rushed. Caleb's figure disappeared from sight. He didn't look back, not even once. I didn't even have time to ask him why he was here. Felix lowered his eyes, a self-mocking smile tugging at his lips. They say a reformed rake makes the best husband, right? Why won't she forgive me? I said mockingly, trying to breastfeed the child after it's already dead? A reformed rake? I only believe a dog can't change its habit of eating shit. He looked at me, startled. Hey, you really are a little spitfire. What did I ever do to you? I turned to leave, not wanting to look at him anymore. But he grabbed me. I instinctively felt my pocket, then froze, ***. Felix, however, jumped back in fright. No way, lady. You carry a kitchen knife around with you? I slowly pulled my hand back, but a hollow feeling grew inside me. Since elementary school, I had always carried something sharp with me. On lucky days, it could scare off some of the people who wanted to bully me. But over these 10 years, I had gradually forgotten this habit. Because Caleb was by my side, I didn't need to worry about being bullied anymore. It seemed I would have to readjust to it from now on. Felix sighed. I just think we're both in the same boat, fellow sufferers. Both just simp sidekicks. I looked at him, surprised. Haven't you given out plenty of green hats yourself? He was rendered speechless. Fine, you're the simp sidekick, okay? Staying by Caleb's side for 10 years, not seeking fame or fortune, both of you understanding the situation but pretending to be oblivious ***. Calling each other friends, what kind of friends act like you two? I fell silent for a moment. Caleb and I really were friends. It wasn't because I liked him that we became friends. We became friends first, love came later. So, friendship would always come first. Whether we could be together or not, I considered him a friend. He was the first person to be so good to me, giving me the companionship and care I had lacked for decades. I was only grateful to him. Even if he liked someone else, I wouldn't hate him for it. The beautiful memories were enough. I smiled, feeling a sense of relief. My love for him is pure, and my friendship for him is equally pure. Felix was taken aback, muttered weirdo under his breath, and left. A stray dog passing by got kicked by him and fiercely lunged at him. He yelled and ran off in a panic. I couldn't help but laugh. 16. I stood by the window, looking at the dark, heavy night sky. I sent Caleb a WeChat message. Will we always be friends? On his end, typing lasted for a very long time. He said, of course. He gave me a definite answer. Even though I had already guessed it, my heart still couldn't help but ache. I curled my lips, tears streaming down uncontrollably. Why cry? Mourning a 10-year secret crush that came to nothing. Rejoicing that the mission hopefully could be completed. Blessing my friend for finally finding his salvation. I should go home. But it seemed I had no home. The next day, I resigned. First, I visited Caleb's parents. Over the years, I had already come to see them as family. Then I visited a few close friends and gave them handmade gifts I'd made. These 10 years, I hadn't only revolved around Caleb. I had made a few true friends, had a good career, good bosses, and good colleagues. Perhaps that was also why I didn't resent heaven and blame others. Finally, I went to the orphanage I had been supporting. The children here were all lovely, no one was isolated or bullied. It was really good. After finishing all this, I boarded a flight to travel. This vast land and rivers, I had to see it at least once. I looked out the window at the winding snow-capped mountains, slightly lost in thought. The night Emma returned, I had asked the will of the world what Caleb's redemption progress was. It told me, it has always stayed at 99%. I finally understood. Everyone hopes the devoted second male lead in the novel can find someone else. But no one considered that he might not want anyone except the female lead. Looking at it now, that 1%, vast as a chasm, was something I might spend my whole life unable to achieve. Going around in circles, I was back at the starting point. Emma changing her mind was the greatest salvation for Caleb. So, all I could do was retreat to the position of a friend. Quietly wish them well and offer my blessings. My travels ended a month later. It was still autumn, but it had already turned cold. This year's first snow would probably come early. Caleb came to pick me up. He seemed to have lost some weight, his features more pronounced. The cold wind whipped his trench coat, making it flap loudly. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, but seeing me dressed lightly, he frowned slightly. "Why are you dressed so thinly?" As he spoke, he started to take off his coat for me. I subtly created some distance and smiled. Didn't expect it to get so cold suddenly. "It's fine, it'll be warm once we get in the car." His hands paused on the buttons. He didn't say anything more. In the car, he turned on the heater and handed me a hand warmer. I looked around, his car now had some girly little things in it. I asked, "Why isn't Emma with you?" Caleb tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, his tone unreadable. "She went out with friends." My smile was natural, "I see." The car fell silent. On the road, Caleb asked, as if casually, "Why did you resign suddenly?" The corners of my lips lifted, relaxed and natural, like chatting with an old friend. Just wanted to take a break. Anyway, old Zhang said I can go back anytime. He smiled too, his features softening. True, old Zhang can't bear to lose a key player like you. We chatted all the way, as if nothing had changed. After seeing me home, he prepared to leave. I walked him to the elevator, pulling the woolen blanket tighter around me. "Your birthday." He paused, looked at me, his eyes dark and deep. My reflection was clearly visible in them. I smiled. "Your birthday is coming up. What gift would you like?" "Anything you choose is fine. I'm not picky." The elevator arrived. He stepped in. I nodded, "Okay." Our eyes met. For a moment, deep emotion seemed to churn in his eyes. With another look, they had returned to calm. The elevator door slowly closed, cutting off the last glimpse. I lowered my eyelids, the smile slowly fading. Actually, I wanted to ask if we could still spend his birthday together. Perhaps, for the last time. I knew he understood. 18. On his birthday, I prepared a large double-layer cake. I decorated the house simply with streamers, placing the prominent number balloons in the center. Though sweating from the effort, I was satisfied with my work. I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window. There was no sun today, the sky was overcast. Pity, no sunset to see. The sky turned from white to black. Colorful neon lights lit up, the city ablaze with lights. I glanced sideways at the cake on the table. The cream had melted, the cherry decoration had sunk in. The voice of the will of the world suddenly sounded. He won't come. The female lead and the second male lead are on the Ferris wheel. You waited in vain. I was stunned for a while, my gaze losing focus. Is that so? The devoted second male lead finally got the one he loved. He had finally escaped his fate of a lonely life. Perhaps this was the perfect ending in the reader's eyes. A cool sensation touched my chin. I wiped it with my hand, it was tears. Why cry? I should be happy for him, and happy for myself too. So, the redemption mission succeeded, right? The will of the world was silent for a moment, then finally spoke. Congratulations, you can go home now. I can grant you one wish. I smiled, my eyes curving. Then I want to become a super lucky person, with endless money, bathe in diamonds every day, drink vintage 82 red wine, drive a Ferrari with one hand. It interrupted me, somewhat speechless. I said make a wish, not daydream. I laughed until the tears wouldn't stop. After a long time, I finally remembered to ask. If I go back, what happens to this body? Can you make them forget me? This body was created by the will of the world for me, identical to my real-world self. The will of the world was cold. No. Only physical death is possible. I was stunned. What, do you want to stay? Not really. I still have to go. I'm just worried my friends will be sad. After thinking, I posted a moment on my social feed. Actually, I'm a fairy, came down to complete a mission. Now the mission is done, I'm leaving. Don't be sad, I'll watch over you all. Soon, a flood of comments appeared below. What nonsense are you spouting? I isn't at Caleb's birthday today? You two aren't together? What's going on? Don't scare people. I couldn't help but smile. I walked to the window and carefully traced the outline of the city one last time. Pity, didn't get to see this year's first snow. 11:59. I blew out the candles on the cake. Softly said, Happy 28th birthday. From now on, I won't be accompanying you. Midnight. The Ferris wheel rose to its highest point. Emma's eyes filled with love as she said to Caleb. Caleb, I've seen my own heart clearly. I came back for you this time. Let's be together. Caleb stood rigid, his eyelashes trembling. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Midnight. Sophia lay down in the bathtub. She without hesitation slit her own wrist. Thought for a moment, then slit the other wrist as well. Then, with a smile, quietly sank into the water. She whispered, Good night. The will of the world replied, Good night.